This is the Be Right Back writer deck. And this is the build guide for it. I'll first go through all the materials that I used. We got the screen cover, 3D printed. Keyboard plate, also 3D printed. And the base plate, you guessed it, 3D printed. But this one has a print-in-place hinge that we'll use for the keyboard assembly later on. Now we have some low-profile keycaps and some tactile keyboard switches. Next we have the mounting hardware for the Pi Hat. This comes with it. We've got the Raspberry Pi Zero 2W itself. We've got a mini HDMI cable, USB A to C, and a USB-C extender. Now we've got the 3D printed screen retainer and the AMOLED screen. For the keyboard, we're going to use the Air 40 40% keyboard. I'm using the hot swap variety. Now for power, we're going to use this Scene Great UPS Pi Hat. We're going to start assembling the keyboard by placing 4 switches in the corners. We can now attach the keyboard PCB to the 4 switches, making sure to note the USB-C orientation. It should be pointing towards the flat side of the keyboard plate. Pop all those switches in and we'll move on to the next step. Attach all the keycaps to the switches. You can choose whatever layout you want. Moving on to the screen, attach the HDMI cable and give it a nice sharp bend. Make sure that the ports face the 2 holes on the right. Now take the screen retainer and note this little notch. This goes by the USB-C connector. Slot it into the holes and push down here to lock this screen retainer into place. It should wiggle up and down slightly when fully seated. Moving on to the Pi Hat and the Pi, first make sure that this switch is set to Pi 0 and not Type C. Place the Pi Hat in the 3D printed base, making sure that the power switch pokes through. We'll now attach the Pi Hat to the base, doing so by screwing in 4 of the standoffs. Be careful not to over-tighten, as it's very easy to strip the plastic. Now, insert the screw in the top part of the Pi Hat. We'll skip the bottom one and use that extra screw later. Now we'll attach the Pi, making sure that the micro SD card faces down. Connect the USB-C extender to the Pi Hat and push the female end into the 3D printed base. Make sure that it is a flush fit. Slide the keyboard in, making sure that it's fully seated and is flush with the base. Now fold up the print-in-place hinge. Grab the USB A to C connector and attach the keyboard to the Pi Hat. Next we'll grab the screen and connect the HDMI cable. We'll also connect the USB-C to A connector on the Pi Hat for power. Take note of these locking tabs and the slots that they will fit into. Press the screen down and slide it to the left, locking into both the base and the keyboard. Flip the deck over, and now get the 2 extra screws from the Pi Hat hardware, and carefully insert them into the 2 holes. Tighten, but again, make sure not to over-tighten. Flip it over, and we can start using it. I'm running Raspberry Pi OS Lite, which is a headless command line based operating system. Now we can get to journaling. How am I helping myself get enough sleep? Well, that's ironic. I hope you found this guide informative and helpful. If you have any questions, I will be happy to try and answer them in the comments here. You can take a look at the GitHub page that I've created for this project. You can find details on the bill of materials, the CAD files, and the software that I'm using here. Thanks again for watching.